everybody. Chris Curtis here with Rockwall ISD, and I'm joined here by the head coach of your Rockwall-Heath Hawks, Coach Mike Spradlin. First of all, Coach, thanks for joining me. First things first, let's kind of talk about, we're kind of celebrating your first year here at Rockwall-Heath. Kind of tell me about what this past year has been like for you.
Well, I mean, Chris, it's been a great year. I mean, you're exactly right. Right now, there's still people playing football, and anytime that's the case, I kind of wake up mad every day. But it's a fun ride. I know it is, and I've been fortunate to have been a part of one of those, and it's a good thing. So we're in grind mode. I mean, that's what we've done ever since we stopped. I mean, we think we're well on our way to being where we want to be, and we've got another long off season ahead of us and summer and all those things. But we're returning a lot of guys and got a lot of kids coming back. A lot of kids will have experience with us. I think I kind of ran some numbers. We'll have 16 full-time starters back. Had 23 guys that'll be back with us that have started at least one football game. So it's going to be a lot of experience that we have coming back for us, as well as 36 varsity kids back, and that's compared to the 14 that we had back from the previous season before we got here. So I think the future is bright for us, and as long as we're playing football, then we'll embrace what we have, but we're looking forward to, we'll get looking more forward to the 2020 season.
Absolutely, and looking at your football team, going 5-5 this year, obviously a two-game improvement from 2018. So, like you said, when you first got here, obviously the playoffs were the key, but you look at really 2 games this season that really kind of defined your season as far as losing 2 games to start district. So kind of talk about what you've looked at as that going forward and just how close. I mean, really 10-point swing. We're talking playoffs for.
Well, you couldn't be more right. I mean, I have sticks in my craw. The Tyler Lee game, we were, obviously 3rd and goal on the 4 and then 4th and goal on the 4 and didn't convert with about 1:20 to go, down by 4. And then had a chance to stop them, get the ball back with 3 timeouts and failed to do that on first down. So that was kind of our first misstep. Went to Mesquite and jumped out in front and wound up losing that one by 10. So those are either or wins that could have put us in the playoffs. I was proud of the way we finished, Chris. I think, at some point early in our season, I had a conversation about our guys. I felt like we were kind of satisfied with just being better, than a year ago, if you will. And I said, if we're just trying to be better, well, then mission accomplished. But, our goals were so much higher than that. Yardage wise, I mean, I think, we did shot some numbers out there, like, after 4 games this year, we had more yardage, I think, than we did a year ago, and, things like that. So there were some big positives that we took from it. And then I was really pleased with, coming off the Longview loss. The Horn win was a big win for us. There's no question about it. It was a win that we needed at the time and needed to kind of validate some things we were doing, and then had an opportunity to go into an open date and then of course finish with North Mesquite. So I think our finish was strong. Our start was strong. We're going to have to fix the in-between part. But, I look back on it. I'm really proud of the senior guys. I've told everybody this, and I've told them this, that they bought into a new way of doing things. And I'm proud of those guys. I would have loved to have given them a playoff experience because they deserved it. They were really, really good group of guys. So we're not in one of those modes where, we're kind of like, okay, now we got that way out of the way. It was a fun group to coach, fun group to practice with. Would have loved to have seen those guys have some success postseason, but we didn't, and so now it's I think we flipped the switch, if you will, and I think we understand now what it's going to take to get there.
Absolutely, and you talk about some of the positives. Obviously, your offense, one of the best in the DFW. Your quarterback was the best regular season quarterback in the DFW area, and Josh Hoover. Talk about what Josh Hoover has meant to this team. Obviously, a lot of people know about Braden Locke, a sophomore over at Rockwall, but Rockwall-Heath has one of their own in Josh Hoover, and he set some records too.
He did. It's astounding, isn't it, to have 2 athletes like that. Josh is really the most special quarterback I think I've ever. I mean, it's amazing when you look at, I've done this for a long time, Chris, and you think, well, I've had these really good guys and don't know if I'll ever have another guy like that. And now I've got a guy. I don't know if I ever have another guy like that. I mean, he's an incredible processor. The way he focuses and what he focuses on, and the way he understands what we do, tremendous. 33 touchdowns. I mean, good grief, threw for nearly 3,000 yards in 10 games. He's a special guy, and one of honestly quite a few, particularly offensive sophomores. I mean, we started two offensive linemen on the line that were sophomores. We had a running back that was a sophomore, and started sophomore receiver. So we're young, no doubt about it. Jaden Jones was real proud of that guy. Going to sign with Incarnate Word. Corbin Cleveland, our junior slot, had almost 1,000 yards. So I was really excited about our offensive output and what we did offensively. Want to run the ball a little bit better than we did this year. I think we will. So I was very pleased with our offensive output. Needed to score more points in a couple of games. Longview was a good example. I mean, we went out against Longview, Chris, and we had 23 first downs and nearly 400 yards of offense, but we couldn't get it across the end zone line. And that's also why Longview is good. So there's some things of some sense of urgency we've got to get offensively to continue to move down the road.
And you talk about being incredibly young for your varsity. Talk about your middle school, your freshman, your JV squads. A lot of success on that side of the ball too.
There was, our ninth graders were a group that really battled hard. We wound up, winning. We're a 500 team as well with our ninth graders. Our eighth graders are special. At Kane, those guys, A and B teams both in the seventh and the eighth grade are 36-1, and they're really, really talented, Chris, and a lot of really good things here. I'm excited about our Utley guys. I think Coach Spivey's done a tremendous job over at Utley. I think he's really done a good job with those guys. We've been able to identify, our Heath Hawks that are coming over for us. There's some guys over there I'm really excited about. Seeing them come over and putting on the red and black. And so I think particularly when we take that Kane group that was very successful and then we mix in our 20 or 25 Utley guys that we get, I think we've got a chance to have something special, I'll be honest with you. And so we're going to really do a good job this spring getting down, seeing those guys and making sure we stay in touch with all those kids.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that are special, you kind of implemented some new traditions at Rockwall-Heath this past year, obviously starting with the spring game, the homecoming pep rally. Kind of talk about, the homecoming parade and what sorts. That was the first in a long time for Rockwall-Heath. So kind of talk a little bit about what you've installed here. Obviously, when the day caught on, for the family caught on. It's kind of how you envisioned it.
Well, it is. I mean, the win the day thing for me has, I started that kind of back when, and it really is a way of life. I mean, I've even my wife and I talk about it. I mean, it really is a kind of a way of living that I think creates success. I'm really glad that our community has bought into that, because I really think it's a winning mantra. And then the family thing is always a part of what we're trying to do is create that family atmosphere, which I think the parade does, by the way. I thought it was outstanding. I've gotten too much credit for that, Chris. I mean, there was a group that came to me and said, we want to do a parade, and we used to have a parade, and I said, let's do a parade. So, I'm not going to take any credit for coming up with the idea. I can certainly tell you that did I not bless it. So, and it wound up being a really good event for us. I mean, I thought it was really good for our kids and everything else. So I really like that. We've got unique, and it's not my first rodeo with the second school, if you will. When you look at our alumni, we're sitting there with, if you're a 28-year-old, 29-year-old Heath Hawk, you're one of the elder statesmen in our group. So we're reaching out a lot, getting a lot of support. Our parental support's fantastic. We're real proud of what we got, Chris. I mean, we're not asking, we want to fly we want to represent the south side of I-30, and we want to carry our banner and hold our flag high and support all the people that live south of that dividing line, if you will, and we want to do it proudly, and we want to do it as a school proudly. I'm really excited about new coaching hires we've got in our other programs. Really getting some good work. Right, our girls basketball program I'm really proud of them. Travis Hellam's doing a tremendous job right now. Ashley Ferlure has taken over our girls soccer program. Derek Moore with our tennis program has been unbelievable. I mean, that guy's done a fantastic job, literally flipped that whole culture. I mean, it's fantastic. Julie Dalfrey, our cross country coach, is had a great cross country season, the best yet. Boys won district championship, which is fantastic. I don't know when's the last time that happened. It's been a long time. So we've got some really cool stuff going on around our place right now, and some good rally points. I think we're going to have some good spring. Gerard Hunter, our new softball coach, has doubled our numbers already. Of course, we hadn't even hit softball season, so I'm excited about that. Track season, we have quite a bit different emphasis on track that we bring to things. We started last year. I think my first track workout, there was 8 or 10 guys out there, and we finished the season with 43 guys on our track team. Now we've got to get better, but we certainly got the numbers out there. So there's a general feel good, if you will, about just who we are.
Yep.
And I think our identity, is something that we're proud of, and something we want to represent every time we go out and do it right.
And many experts have picked Rockwall-Heath baseball to go pretty far this year as well. So
that's smart people.
Coach Harvey always has a great bunch up there.
I don't butt Coach Harvey.
Exactly.
That guy's fantastic.
Thoughts on realignment as far as going into next season? Obviously, you lose Longview. They're dropping down to 5A, as many of us know now. So what are your expectations on this district? It may or may not be 11-6A. It's going to be 6A. It's going to be Rockwall. Right. It's going to be Heath in the same district again. And we don't obviously know who the team that could replace Longview could be. It might not be anybody. I mean, we don't know. But what are your expectations going into the next 2 seasons of football?
Well, I've got mixed emotions on the Longview thing. I always think it's good to have that kind of recognition to your district. I do. I mean, John King's another fine guy. I mean, I've known John for years, and he's a great guy and a great football coach. I think in general, Chris, the pundits kind of thinking that the most natural move would be to move Wiley over here with us, because that would give us 7, and then Garland would have 7-team district at that point themselves. Now, when you start making sense, that doesn't always mean that's the way it's going to work out. But I think that's kind of in general. So, I'm having to think through, we've got Wiley actually scheduled week 2, so I've got to figure out, if that's a game I'm actually looking and visiting for. Been looking for a marquee game in non-district, but it hasn't been easy. And so right now we're still in the process of building that schedule. But I think the logical thing is the Mesquites and us, we all stay together, and Tyler Lee's got to go somewhere, so that's going to be here. So the only good news is we'll be making a trip east every other year instead of once a year, to go to Tyler and Longview. So, but I think it'll still be one of the most highly competitive districts, whatever it is. Jeff Fleener's done a great job over at Mesquite High. Horn's Horn, and they've got some tremendous athletes who do a great job. And I'll tell you what, I've got a lot of respect for Tim Cedar over at North Mesquite. They've got some really good football players that do things right. So it'll be a tough district again, no question about it.
Absolutely. And last but not least, obviously you mentioned you're still working on your schedule. Obviously that'll be pretty much finalized here in the late winter, early spring for Rockwall-Heath. But what are your expectations going into 2020? Obviously you wanted to change the culture and get to the playoffs in 2019. Most everything there happened except minus the playoffs, but obviously the playoffs will be the goal in 2020 and so much more.
Well, I've always said, our goals are, you can't win the show if you don't get in the show. So you got to get in the tournament, and the way you get in the tournament obviously is by finishing first, second, third, or fourth. Our goal is always to do that, and then of course we want to get in as a district champion, and then when we get in it, we want to win it. Chris, culture change is more of a belief system as much as it is actual physical change of what we do, even though we've made some pretty dramatic changes in what we do scheme-wise. What we're really trying to create is a belief system in our kids that we belong in the tournament, and so I have found, in the Cooper flip, if you will, on the Temple flip, that there's a sense that you got to, once you get there, once they start figuring out, and I think our guys do, that you belong, because they see what you've already talked about today. Our guys certainly understand that, we were 4 or 5 points away, 15 points, 2 touchdowns away, if you will, from being not only in the playoffs, but possibly being, going in as a third place team. So, we're close, and you got to be close to get where you want to go. I am disappointed. I mean, I felt like we had an opportunity. It is a very tough district, and I know you know that. Maybe the toughest I've ever coached in. The good news is we're one of them.
Yep.
You know, we've arrived at the party, if you will, now, and I think we're obviously a team that everybody has to contend with. We're not a bunch that everybody says, okay, well, we know we're going to win the Heath game, or, you know. So we plan. I mean, Chris, I came here. I said it when I got here. I mean, our goal is to be doing what the guys across town are doing. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, and I know it. It's the age-old deal. I know it can be done. I've felt it. I've seen it. I've been around it. And so the key for me is to convey that and get that instilled in our players. And I think we're on our way to doing that.
Absolutely. One of the cool things that I've seen on social media, especially from your seniors, is saying, you know, they've started the tradition of just straight out winning. And that's what they really want to see, the legacy continue for these younger guys. And that's, you know, all thanks to you.
Well, you know, I told them that, Chris. And, you know, one thing I told our seniors is we'll remember you as a bunch that helped us get started. And we did. And I'll say it again. We were better. That wasn't our goal. Was to be better. We wanted to make some noise and you know, and all that. But I'm really proud of this senior group for buying in. They did buy in, Chris, and I never heard them whining, complaining. They're not a group we're saying, man, you know, glad those guys are gone. You know, I mean, I'm gonna miss those guys. They were really a big part of what we did. So we're gonna look back in a couple of years and say we owe some thanks to those guys for holding this thing together and keeping the glue, you know, while we had a chance to get ourselves right.
Absolutely. Well, spring game only about 5 months away, so you know you're planning on that and getting ready for that. And Coach, I thank you for joining us. Hope you have a great holiday season.
Yes, sir.
Great new year, and looking forward to a lot of great things from the Rockwall-Heath Hawks in 2020.
Go Hawks.